Yeah, okay, so good morning, students. So today we have a topic about descriptive essay. So what is a descriptive essay? The descriptive essay is a genre of essay that asks the students to describe something. For example, object, person, place, experience, emotion, situation, and etc. Descriptive writing has a unique power and appeal as it evokes sights, smells, sounds, textures, and tastes. Using description in your writing brings the word within your text to your reader. And the purpose of descriptive writing is to create a dominant expression. So if we talk about descriptive essay, it refers to expression, an expression, yeah. Okay. So there are 3 steps in writing descriptive essay. The first one is formulating thesis statement. The second one, developing description. And the third one, or the last one, is drawing conclusion. In formulating thesis statement, you can include the purpose, dominant impression, and thesis statement. The example of purpose is attracting readers to adopt kitten. This is the example of purpose. And then the dominant impression, the example is adorable kittens need to be adopted. And the example of thesis statement is adopting adorable kittens that needs love is reasonable. Okay, let's see the example. So this is the example of descriptive paragraph. My family ate dinner at Mary made dinner every Friday night while I was a child. We handled clothes in a large red booth as we scanned the familiar menu. The aroma of gravy over creamy mashed potatoes lingered in the air. I snuggled close to my mom's arm as she ordered our drinks. The waitress brought our thick milkshakes out on a tray and placed them in front of us on a paper doily. The jukebox in the back played songs that we all knew the words to, and we sang along until our food arrived. Hot and anti-sing on the table. Outside, I shivered in the cold air, but in the dinner, I was cozy, munching on crispy French fries and enjoying a hot, juicy cheeseburger. So, if we look at or read the paragraph of descriptive paragraph, can you feel the mood of this paragraph? So this is the first question that come up in your mind, ya. Jadi biasanya kita kalau membaca paragraf atau sebuah tulisan atau reading text atau writing paragraph, ya, paragraph writing, kita akan muncul pertanyaan, ya. So the author is trying to convey a feeling of safety, comfort, and happiness. It means the author does not tell the reader she feels safe and happy. She shows the reader through descriptive details. So actually the writer not directly describe the feeling, but they just show the reader with descriptive detail. So in developing description, we have some aspect. The first aspect is showing, not telling. The second aspect is sensory details. And then the third one is vivid language. And the last aspect is very sentence structures. So in this descriptive paragraph or essay, the writer just showing, not telling. So showing words supply vivid sensory details appropriate to your subject and purpose. Meanwhile, telling words are usually vague or ambiguous. They can be interpreted in a variety of ways. Okay, this is two examples. The first example is telling. The sentences that show telling, yeah. The example of telling is, the empty room smelled stale and was devoid of furniture or floor covering. The single window lacked curtains or blinds of any kind. This is the example of telling. And then the example of showing. The apartment smelled of old cooking odors, cabbage, and mildew. Our sneakers squeaked sharply against the covered wood floors, which reflected a haze of dusty sunlight from the one cobwebbed, gritty window. So if we compare the two information about telling and showing, so showing, we have to attract the reader by using descriptive detail, yeah. So more detail and vivid language, yeah, and vivid sensory details. Okay, now we have information about showing versus explanation. Do not mistake explanation for description. Explanation is the kind of telling that interjects background material that does not contain sensory details or contribute to the overall effect, characters, motives, or history. This is the example of explanation. The tenants had moved out a week earlier because the house was being sold to a developer. No one had bothered to dust or clean because they assumed the apartment was going to be knocked down and replaced with single-family homes like those built just a block away. This is the example of explanation. Okay, now we go to the sensory details. As we know that sensory description use sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste to sketch an impression in writing. This is the example of a paragraph without sensory description. My sister and I walked along the boardwalk each afternoon of our vacation. We watched the ocean and listened to the waves. Usually, we stopped for a snack at one of the many stores that line the boardwalk. Afterwards, we walked along the beach and let our feet get wet. Now we go to the example of a paragraph, all 5 sensory descriptors. My sister and I walked along the boardwalk one afternoon on our vacation. The hot boards warmed our bare feet. We watched the foam-covered waves topple over each other and then slide back into sea. The crashing water competed with the exuberant yells from the seagulls. We bought a perfectly oval fluff of pink cotton candy that dissolved sweetly in our mouth. Afterwards, we walked along the edge of the water, letting the warm, salty air blow our hair away from our necks as the cool water lapped over our toes. Jadi bisa kita lihat ya bahwa the first paragraph do not use sensory description, and the second one, the writer used 5 sensory descriptors. Okay, next, what about vivid language? So instead of using vague general words, your sensory language should be concrete and sensory packaged. So for example, this is the column of vague. The food was unappetizing. And then the vivid language or vivid sentence. The pale turquoise slices floated limply in a pool of murky fat. And then the second example of a Q sentence. The sprinkler was refreshing. And the vivid example, the example of vivid sentence is the cool water from the sprinkler sprayed out hot faces. And then the last example of a Q sentence is the traffic was heavy. And the example of vivid language or vivid sentence is our old car puffed as Main Street became clogged with a line of clamoring motorists. So you can compare how to use vague, how to use vivid sentences, and try to avoid using vague sentence in descriptive writing. And then we talk about the very sentence structure. When using descriptive language, it is important to vary your sentence structure. Try to avoid using the same subject-verb pattern in all sentences. This is the example of monotonous. The hall was empty. The hall was empty. She ran towards the classroom. She entered right after the bell rang. And then we change into very sentence structure. Racing down an empty hall, she skated into the classroom, breathless just as the bell clanged above her. So it is more very in sentence structure. So in this case, we can draw the conclusion. We need drawing conclusion. So the conclusion paragraph of a descriptive essay is more than merely a summary or restatement of the thesis. A strong conclusion, a sense of closure by telling the reader the overall importance of the discussion. In adorable kitten writing, the conclusion may talk about our responsibility to the 1,000 unwanted animals that are put to sleep because nobody wants them. So we need to make a paragraph of conclusion to include in the descriptive essay. Okay, so this is the references. And you can watch the YouTube channel. You can watch the YouTube channel entitled Improve Your Descriptive Writing, presented by Easy Teaching in the following link. And thank you for your attention. Yeah, okay, so that's all.